Hey guys, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. We're excited today to have licensed low voltage electrical contractor Matt Gaines with us to continue our discussion on access control.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I'm just excited about the show today, excited for the opportunity.
Yeah. And Matt, we briefly went over what access control is and the different aspects of it, but what are some of the different types?
So the first type that comes to mind is a server client-based system. And in a server client-based system, what that means, any of you IT professionals out there are familiar with Microsoft SQL Server. So a SQL Server or a server is something that has to be logged into with a client machine.
Yeah.
So with a server client-based system, it used to only mean that you could access it with a PC, another PC on that network. But it's not necessarily the case anymore because, believe it or not, on a client server-based system, there's options out there that will allow you to maintain your access control system on a server, on a SQL server, or on a mainframe, and even in some cases a remote server. I know a lot of companies are going to where their servers are off-site. So you can actually install your instance of your access control system, whatever the requirements are, and maintain it on your individual network, on your private LAN or your private network, your security network, however you choose to do that.
Well, and we actually, I think we have a few sites that are able to do that with SQL Server.
Yeah, absolutely. So SQL Server, you have client server-based systems at every price point.
Yeah.
You have it at the least expensive, the mid-range, and the high price point. And the mid-range to high price points, you see a lot more options of actually interfacing phones and iPads to talk to that access control server.
Yeah.
However, there are limitations. And from a hardware standpoint, it requires more of an IT professional to set up the server instances, the client sessions, and really to just get it on the network. So we try to reserve client server-based access control systems for a professional and enterprise level. That's what we try to push people to from a standpoint of ease of install, because there's going to be more requirements on the IT professional.
So for a smaller company, this probably wouldn't be the best case scenario.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it just depends. If it's a smaller mom and pop business and this is your only location, no, that's not going to be the way to go. Now, if you've got smaller locations spread out all over the place, then it might be an option for you. It might work, but there's probably a better option out there.
So what are some other different types?
All right, so the second is the one that we probably have seen the most in the field and what we work with, and it's a browser or web-based system.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what this does. So on the browser or the web-based system, basically you have a network appliance. So you have a piece of hardware that would, in most cases, it can either be rack mounted, it can be mounted to the wall just on your backing board in your network closet, but somewhere on your network you have a network-based appliance, and that appliance uses a web browser interface.
Yeah.
Internet Explorer, Edge, Chrome, Firefox, all the other different options to log in and for you to make your changes to that. Therefore, you actually have the flexibility for you, if you're using a browser or web-based access control system that has its own appliance on your network, anywhere that you can access your network, therefore you can use any device to access. Mac, PC, phones, tablets, because you can actually do that. For iPhone example, if you have an iPhone, you can do that from the Safari app or any other web browser you have on your phone.
Wow.
So it just makes it a little bit more user-friendly and easier to set up from an IT standpoint.
So there's multiple different ways to be able to log in.
Right, right.
Awesome, Matt. So I know we had server and browser based. What's another type?
Another one, in Austin, you are familiar with this one because you've had a few customers that have had this setup. Something relatively new to the industry is a cloud-based system. Okay, it's kind of a combination of client server-based and browser-based all rolled into one. The difference is your mainframe, your backbone of your access control system, where all your data is stored off-site,
Yeah.
not at your location. In most cases, when they call it a cloud-based system, it's stored in the vendors, or in this case, the manufacturer's location. And so that's why we call it a cloud-based system, because you pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee, however it's set up, however the contract's written. You pay that fee weekly, monthly, yearly, and you have access to that cloud. And on that cloud is all your database for your access control system, all your card user data, your badging info, and the way that your doors are configured. So there again, this is a very user-friendly option. And the reason that cloud-based systems work out well, you'll see this commonly used in gyms and places, fitness arenas, because the reason that they're looking for something inexpensive but also easily accessible. Yeah. And a lot of times fitness centers or gyms have multiple locations. So if they are only paying a monthly fee to access that one door, or that 2 doors on this gym, 2 doors on that gym, or 1 door on that gym, they can have multiple locations all talking to the cloud and not have to have a network infrastructure to go in between those. So every one of those can have their own internet service provider at those different locations and talk to the cloud as if it was one system. So the other benefit to the cloud base is that you have the option to not have a appliance that you have to pay for. Yeah. You don't have to have your own piece of equipment. You don't have to have your own server. You don't have to have your own network device. You are sending the information, that device that's remote on your network and on your internet service provider, once it's hooked into your router or modem, it's transmitting all the data back to the home office, to the home location, that of the manufacturer. That way you're locked in, and it's a way for it to communicate.
Now, I know what I've seen with like what you were talking about with the cloud-based servers, being able to, basically, it makes it easier to be able to connect and be able to log in, because you don't have to have that connected network.
Right. So. And it makes it good on especially the contracts that we might set up. If we're set up to service a contract for a gym, wherever that might be, or a location, it makes it easier on the service provider as well, because we can log in remotely a lot of times and troubleshoot through the cloud and see what's going on with the door position switch, with the prox reader, yeah, with the mag lock, or the electric strike. It doesn't matter the hardware necessarily. We can actually see what state the device is in and what state the relays and or the request to exit switches are.
Now, we've talked about server client-based, browser-based, cloud-based. Is there another type of access?
Yeah. So the final one that comes to mind, and not saying that there's not more than 4, but the 4 that we're covering today, the final one would be a standalone access control system. And for you guys that aren't aware, a standalone access control system can be anything. A standalone access control system can be simply a keypad. It can be a card reader and a keypad combo. It's anything that is programmed remotely at the lock or at the keypad. So, for example, you see, we used to have a hospital that we dealt with in Alabama, and every single door in their location had a standalone programmable keypad on the exterior doors. Wow. So, let me tell you why that's a problem. Because every time an employee quit, an employee was let go, or there was a discrepancy and somebody gave out the code inadvertently, they had to go to every single exterior door and reprogram through a series of numbers and a series of, steps, yeah, to remove that user. And then on top of that, they had to remember what that user's code was, or their enrollment, whether they were user number 1, number 10, or number 12, it didn't matter. They would have to have that information to remove them. And if they couldn't remove them because they couldn't remember the user number or the user code, then they would have to default the keypad and start all over. So a standalone application is great for 1 or 2 doors. It's great to allow access to a gate or to be used in a scenario like that. But for the most part, a standalone access control system, if you're doing over 1 door and there's only going to be 1 or 2 people entering it, stay away. Stay away from it. It has its niche. It has its place. But a standalone access control system is going to cause you more problems in the long run because you have no ability to track data with a standalone access control system.
And I think a lot of times where we seem to see that the most on bigger scales is assisted livings.
Yeah.
They really seem to want to go towards the standalone keypads.
Right.
And I mean, it's like exactly what you said. It kind of turns to a nightmare when every time you have to change that code and go
Yeah.
remember what not to use and what to use. So
yeah, and it can be a nightmare all the way around. But well, Austin, that's pretty much all I got for today.
Well, Matt, thanks for joining us today, and thank you guys for watching. And have a great Tuesday.